Welcome to Manhwa Nirvana. Let's dive straight into the story. The story starts with a face-off between a man's party and a fearsome level 67 wingless dragon, Sebarumus. The dragon begins charging up a breath attack. The mage shouts and tells everybody to get ready. The tank says he doesn't know if his defense skill can block it, but then he spots something that catches him off guard. A little goblin is dancing with its funny walk towards the boss and stands directly before it. The goblin begins licking its club, and the party wonders what it's even doing here. Sebarumus fires his breath towards the goblin. The goblin, still full of laughter, jumps up to meet the attack and swings, destroying the attack, but also killing Sebarumus. Everyone else is stunned, saying that's insane. The goblin swung and cut both the attack and the dragon completely in half. The party is going crazy, unable to believe that the goblin obliterated the dragon entirely with a single attack. They wonder why a monster is attacking another monster. They speculate that it might be a summon. The tank tells everyone to look up, pointing to someone on the cliff. We see a man with his tongue out, and they say he must be the one who summoned the goblin. He is looking down at Sebarumus's corpse. We then get a flashback to the goblin's owner asking where he needs to put his bag. Some of his co-workers wonder if something good happened to him because he's smiling while working. The man puts the bag down and says that he's actually a goblin. It's clear that he's talking about his place in life, comparing himself to a low-level monster in an RPG game. He feels like he is stuck in a low-level area, a place he can never escape. While there are instances of people winning the lottery and becoming super rich overnight, he believes a goblin will always remain a goblin, no matter how much experience it gains. He overhears his co-workers talking about someone named Mr. Cha. Apparently, Mr. Cha has been so busy playing Heaven's Door that he hasn't been turning up for work, and he managed to obtain a hidden class. His co-worker says that Mr. Cha really struck it big and is going to make a lot of money. We learn that Heaven's Door is a full-dive virtual reality game that's been trending recently. The experience feels so real that it allows people to forget about reality itself. The tech is highly advanced, making the machines extremely expensive, but with countless internet cafes upgrading to meet demand, even broke people like him can access it. The reason behind the game's popularity is none other than real money trading. Game items are now being traded for real-life currency, turning it into a real job for many. He used to enjoy it, but now, it's just work. We see him in the game, spinning his weapon and saying that he is using his ultimate move, Strike Rock. But instead of fighting monsters, he is just mining ore. In both real life and the game, he's nothing more than a laborer. He grumbles about his life, complaining that after all the grinding in real life, he has to grind even more in the game, and even here, he is drowning in debt. He wonders when he will become a legendary hero, date one of his gorgeous party members, and get married. While mining, he complains that no matter how much ore he mines, he never gets anything valuable. Suddenly, he exclaims that he was wrong. He finds an advanced healing crystal, worth at least 300,000 won, approximately $200. He starts celebrating, claiming it as his and laughing maniacally. A woman then approaches him, and he quickly tries to compose himself, turning to her with the most handsome face he can muster. He notices that she is extremely pretty. She says she's noticed that he has been mining here every day, so his mining skill must be high. He awkwardly agrees, asking what she needs. She explains that her party is running through a dungeon, but a massive rock is blocking the path. While her party members are strong, they are clueless about mining. They are hoping that a skilled miner like him can help. He admits that his mining skill is high, but his level is too low to enter the dungeon safely. The tank reassures him that they will handle the monsters and that he just needs to follow them. The tank then gets up close, implying that they assumed he was good at mining just because he is a dwarf. The man offers to share experience points and maybe even some high-level ore if he helps them. Kim considers the offer. Joining their party could help him gain experience and access rare ores, but he doubts his safety. After all, while death isn't permanent in the game, it still comes with risks. Suddenly, the woman grabs his hand, apologizing and admitting she has a thing for strong-armed miners. She tells him it's okay if he refuses. Without hesitation, he accepts. Inside the dungeon, Fear grips Kim as he faces a level 9 gray wolf. Though the monsters are low level, they still outclass him. The wolf lunges, but the woman, Catherine Lee, a level 39 magician, instantly eliminates it with her salamander flame skill. She checks to see if he is okay, and he is in awe of her power. She wiped out the entire wolf pack in one move. Catherine tells him to stay close because it is dangerous to be alone. Blushing, Kim imagines a romantic future with her, his thoughts drifting toward the romance route he always dreamed of. Another teammate joins the fight, easily defeating the wolves with a move called Giant Wheel Swing. The teammate mentions a suspicious aura that can only be broken with the high mining level. They had skipped it before, not wanting to waste points on mining, but now, they need someone like Kim. Hearing this, Kim feels insulted. Did they only see him as a tool? He confronts the man, stating he isn't useless in combat. The dwarf questions if the purchased information was accurate, as a failed lead would cost them a lot. The man assures him the information is solid and warns that failure would be costly. Kim, feeling slighted, continues mining as anger simmers inside him. He is used to being looked down upon and risking his life for meager rewards, but the constant routine has numbed his feelings. That numbness only frustrates him further. However, as he continues to mine, something unexpected happens. A hidden dungeon is revealed. Excitement surges through him. Hidden dungeons often contain rare rewards and possibly even a hidden class. It feels like they've struck gold. Catherine chuckled and sarcastically said, "We." Before he could react, the man from earlier attacked him from behind. Kim collapsed, struggling to breathe. Catherine mocked him, calling it absurd that a hidden dungeon could exist in a low-level area and be accessed with mere mining skills. She claimed they had done all the fighting and he had simply followed along. Realization hit him, they had planned this from the start. The man grabbed his hair, mocking him for being clueless. They knew about the hidden dungeon. They just needed him to unlock it. As a reward, they decided to kill him quickly. The man struck him down, but Kim suddenly opened his eyes. He was still inside the dungeon. They hadn't finished him. Then he noticed something. The advanced healing crystal had shattered. It had saved his life, reviving him fully. His precious 300,000 crystal was gone. Furious, he cursed them. His eyes turned to the still open dungeon door, meaning it hadn't been cleared yet. Despite the loss, he wasn't ready to back down. He decided to crash their party and turn his life around. Those who looked down on him would regret it. He jumped into the dungeon, landing hard. The stairs confirmed he had entered the hidden area. As he looked ahead, he spotted something massive, a goblin shrine. A smug-looking goblin sat on a throne. He was confused, a hidden dungeon filled with goblins? It felt too easy. Something was off. The silence was eerie, and he couldn't find the others. Suddenly, his foot bumped into a body. Looking down, he was stunned. The dwarf from earlier lay unconscious on the ground. The system asked Kim if he could use a revive skill. He replied there was no such skill. It seemed like he was deliberately avoiding pressing the revive button just to not miss the hidden dungeon. His greed was evident. Then the system gave him a warning, stating that this was a high-difficulty dungeon far beyond his current level, and urged him to exit immediately. Surprised by the message, he turned around after hearing someone scream. The man who had previously killed him was now caught by a monster. Catherine Lee was crushed beneath that creature's foot. This terrifying monster was called Giger and had a level of 80. Seeing it left Kim in shock. A level 80 monster was no joke. The monster then devoured the man it was holding, leaving Kim stunned. He realized that the worst-case scenario was unfolding. Many games had aimed for realism before, but Heaven's Door went a step further by including the sense of touch, along with the pain that came with it. Safety systems were in place, but only for damage caused by low-level or equal-level monsters. Catherine Lee started calling out for help. Kim, feeling helpless, knew there was nothing he could do against such a monster. Pain and trauma didn't disappear just because a character revived, they directly affected the brain. In severe cases, they could even lead to brain death or real death. Running away, he thought about how he couldn't allow that thing to be the one to kill him. This situation wasn't his fault. His teammates had abandoned him first. He was weak, so of course, he couldn't help anyone. Survival was his only choice, even if he had to do it alone. Suddenly, the system notified him that the Goblin Lord felt a sense of kinship with his cowardice and weakness. Shocked, he questioned the label of being weak and cowardly. He didn't want to be like this. He hadn't chosen powerlessness. If he had even a little strength, he wouldn't have run away. At the same time, the monster crushed Catherine Lee under its foot. Kim was filled with frustration. He had only wanted a decent job where he wasn't looked down on. He had wanted to fight monsters, not mine rocks and use cool skills like everyone else. Because of the debt his unknown parents left behind, he had grown up unable to do anything he truly wanted. And now, he was being called weak. He hadn't done anything wrong, yet even a goblin from its throne dared to look down on him. He raged inside, wondering who gave a goblin the right to judge him. In the real world, he was looked down on. In the game, he was treated the same way, and now even a goblin pitied him. If being a goblin meant that, then so be it. The system then informed him that he was now an honorary goblin. Goblins would now assist him anytime. He had met the conditions to change to a hidden class goblin summoner. Hearing this, Kim was stunned. He couldn't believe this was a hidden class and rejected the offer. But the system overruled his choice and proceeded with the class change. He shouted in protest, but it was too late. The transformation had already happened. Suddenly, the monster appeared right behind him. As he turned around in fear, he realized there was no more running. There was no going back now. He summoned a goblin. As the goblin began to appear, he hoped it wouldn't make a flashy dragon-style entrance. A weak-looking goblin stood before him. He didn't care. He planned to use the creature as bait and escape while it distracted the monster. He ordered the goblin to move forward. To his surprise, the goblin looked ready to fight. Kim braced himself to run, but in a single instant, the goblin sliced the monster into two pieces using just a chunk of meat it held in its hand. The monster was defeated in one blow. Kim gained a significant boost in experience points, along with 2 new skills, Feed Goblin and Walk Goblin. Even the summoned goblin gained a large amount of experience. Staring in disbelief at what had just happened, Kim stood silent, trying to process it. That seemingly weak goblin was actually at max level in the gaming world. After Catherine died, the scene shifted to the real world. Inside the gaming capsule, Catherine screamed violently. A man rushed to her and quickly removed the device from her eyes, realizing the shock might be something she couldn't return from, even after retiring. Meanwhile, Kim's goblin was seen fiercely defeating multiple monsters. As each monster fell, Kim's level continued to rise. After clearing many enemies, Kim started collecting mana stones and, exhausted, told his goblin he couldn't carry anymore. At this point, Kim had reached level 31 and had gathered several items in his backpack. Kim reflected on his progress, realizing he cleared the hidden dungeon the moment he caught the Giger, but since the party members who defended him were dead, the only way to return would be dying. He was surprised that his goblin, who cleared the mine dungeon alone, didn't level up even once. While he reached level 31, the system offered no information about the goblin, making Kim suspicious. It didn't make sense that such a low-ranking mob was this strong. But Kim brushed it off, deciding to take full advantage of this bug before the developers patched it. With this goblin, he no longer needed to mine and believed he could become the best in Heaven's Door. Later, Kim visits a bank where a lady informs him that everything, including the wolf pelts, totals around 97,000 won. She asks if he wants the amount transferred directly into his account. Kim realizes he can convert in-game items into real cash through the bank, and is stunned by how influential the game is. He then asks if he can send the money to a different account and mentions having more valuable items to sell, including a gear's membrane and its heart. As the lady checks the value, she is visibly shocked and calls for her boss. The bank manager arrives, serving cold tea to Kim and admitting he forgot to boil the water. Kim asks why the manager is personally handling this, saying he's only there to cash out items. The manager explains that he has better investment options for Kim's money and doesn't want it wasted in a simple checking account. Kim questions this investment talk, but the manager reveals the true value of the gear's heart and membrane, 230 million won. Shocked by the number, Kim later thanks his goblin for helping him pay off 10% of his debt. Without even being summoned, the goblin came running, and Kim affectionately praises him, calling him cute at least. While in town, Kim considers unsummoning him, but as he walks through town with the goblin by his side, he notices people staring. He tries to unsummon the goblin, but realizes the goblin won't go away unless it dies. A passerby comments on the unusual sight of a goblin in town. A girl adds that someone must have summoned it and calls it unsightly. Kim is frustrated. Everyone seems to think he's the goblin. Suddenly, the goblin bumps into a man who angrily questions why a goblin is walking the streets. Onlookers recognize the man as Patton, the self-proclaimed annihilator of the Evan Guild. Kim finds the title impressive, but learns Patton gave it to himself. This worries Kim. Anyone calling themselves an annihilator can't be normal. Kim tries to explain that the goblin isn't a monster, but Patton attacks. The goblin easily counters his strike using a piece of meat, knocking Patton away. People around gasp. Patton is dead, killed by a goblin. Kim panics, realizing if anyone discovers the goblin is his summon, it could become a huge problem. One of the bystanders mocks Patton, saying it's embarrassing to be toyed with by a goblin. The new characters introduced are Yunhuk, a level 30 assassin, Suji, a level 28 assassin, and Jiuni, a level 27 archer. Kim assesses the situation. He's confident his goblin won't lose, but worries that the goblin killing all of them would create more trouble. Trying to de-escalate, Kim tells them he'll handle the goblin. Yunhuk, however, warns Kim not to interfere or they'll kill him too. Kim deflects by saying it would look bad for all of them to gang up on a single goblin. The goblin then uses its throwstone skill, hitting one of the opponents. Enraged, they start chasing Kim and the goblin. While running, Kim laments how things spiraled so quickly. He had a max-level goblin and a bright future ahead, thinking life in Heaven's Door would be smooth. Suddenly, an old man calls out to Kim from inside a house, urging him to come in. Without time to question, Kim runs inside, but just as he exits through another door, he shouts in frustration the old man had misled him. The old man follows ominously, saying it was the way to Kim's funeral. As Kim escapes, he checks his system window. The system notifies him that the Goblin Lord is impressed by Kim's sneakiness, granting him 1 goblin point. Kim complains, wondering why he's being labeled weak, vulgar, and sneaky. He insists he did nothing wrong. It was the others who betrayed and attacked him. Resolved, Kim tells the goblin they're done being looked down upon. From now on, they'll destroy the Everton Guild. With maniacal smiles, both Kim and the goblin share a moment of wicked determination. Meanwhile, Yunhuk and his companions search for Kim and the goblin. Jiuni questions if Yunhuk really needs to be there, saying she could handle it alone. Yunhuk warns her not to underestimate the goblin. Though Patton was the weakest, he was still taken down in a single hit. Suddenly, they hear someone screaming. Yunhuk turns around to find one of his allies already killed. The goblin appears behind him. Yunhuk swings his sword, but it has no effect on the goblin. He realizes what he saw earlier wasn't a trick, he could actually die. The goblin attacks using the meat piece again. Yunhuk blocks it with his sword, but is shocked that something managed to parry his weapon from a distance. Jiuni supports Yunhuk with arrows, urging him to fight seriously. Yunhuk wonders how a low-ranking monster could inflict such immense damage. Convinced someone must be manipulating things, he activates his extreme evil form. Jiuni is alarmed, questioning why he's using such a powerful skill against just 1 goblin. Yunhuk calmly responds that the skill might as well be passive now. Holding his dagger in a reverse grip, he prepares for combat. Jiuni agrees to end the fight quickly before anyone sees them, activating her Gale Arrow skill. The system reports that Gale Arrows has removed all movement speed debuffs within its area. Yunhuk charges at the goblin, but again, the attack has no effect. Confused and afraid, Yunhuk starts to panic. The goblin smirks and knocks Yunhuk away, sending him flying past Jiuni. Suddenly, Kim appears before Jiuni and mocks her earlier confidence. Seeing him and the goblin together, Jiuni is stunned. She realizes this goblin is far from ordinary. Kim confirms it with a grin, he's the one who summoned it. Jiuni stands in shock, questioning how a mere goblin could possess such immense power. After all, Yunhook of the Darkness was one of the strongest members of the Everton Guild. Meanwhile, Kim laughs like a madman, dismissing her concern by saying it was none of her business. What mattered now was that he was extremely angry. Jiuni demands to know what he wants and what wrong they had done to deserve this. Kim, enraged, accuses them of being irresponsible, claiming it was all their fault. As Jiuni tries to clarify, she insists that they were the ones who attacked first, and now both she and her precious thing were at their limit. Mocking her words, Kim sarcastically questions if her precious thing was hard, joking that someone might get the wrong idea. He then orders the goblin to silence her. Just then, voices from below rise in surprise. A few people have arrived and recognize them, realizing they were the same group from earlier. Kim notices the gathering crowd and grows anxious, thinking that people have already shown up. Turning to the goblin, he decides it is time to wrap things up and escape. The goblin immediately covers Jun's mouth. From below, the onlookers jump to conclusions, believing the goblin had annihilated the Everton Guild and was now about to violate the last surviving woman. Panic sets in as they fear they could be next. Kim realizes the situation has spiraled out of control. He had only wanted revenge on the Everton Guild, but now, he was caught in a mess. Realizing there was no escape, he shouts for the goblin to stop and release the woman. Someone from the crowd notices and comments that the man had just ordered the goblin to let her go. Another points out that he is wearing beginner gear, yet dares to stand against a monster in the Everton Guild couldn't defeat. Tears stream down Kim's face as he tells the goblin to stop, declaring that it was all over now. The crowd misinterprets his words, thinking he had brought the goblin under control and saved the woman. They begin cheering for him, wishing him luck. Confused, Kim wonders why they are cheering. They should be mocking him. Then it hits him. They don't know he was the one who summoned the goblin. He remembers saying he didn't want the Everton Guild to get hurt and that he would handle the goblin himself. From their perspective, he was now a hero, risking his life to save a woman from a monster. Realizing this, Kim begins laughing maniacally. He turns to Jiuni and warns her not to end up like her dead comrades. If she stays quiet about him and the goblin, he won't kill her. Jiuni nervously agrees to keep the secret. Satisfied, Kim accepts her promise. He then dramatically turns to the goblin, blaming it for attacking the village and causing so much pain. Despite being just a monster, acting furious, he slips a chain around the goblin's neck and begins dragging it with him. One of the onlookers gasps, recognizing the technique. The chains of light, a skill capable of restraining monsters, was being used by someone in a beginner town. The goblin appears completely helpless as Kim drags it around. Kim knows the truth, this was simply his skill that allowed him to take the goblin on walks. Still, he plays along and warns everyone to step back, pretending the situation was dangerous and that he was barely able to control the creature. The crowd whispers among themselves, now believing Kim's level to be over 50. They realize the Everton Guild hadn't been weak. Nobody else could have stood a chance against the monster either. Kim adds to the act, claiming that he might not be strong enough to defeat it, but could still drive it away using his skill. He then summons some goblin food and throws it far into the distance, yelling that it was the creature's end. The goblin immediately runs after the food. As soon as the goblin leaves the town, Kim orders the gates to be closed. The town's gates shut behind the creature, and the danger is sealed outside. Turning to the people, Kim asks if everyone is all right. The crowd cheers, relieved, celebrating that he had successfully chased the goblin away. Kim feels a brief sense of peace, thinking the situation was now under control. Later, Jiuni approaches him. She informs him that the other guild members had died and been transported back to the Shrine of Revival in the sacred grounds of Pascal. She was the only one who knew the truth about Kim and the goblin and promised to keep her word. Kim looks at her and sees potential. He thinks she could be useful. He reminds her that within Pascal, one has infinite HP, making them safe from monsters and other players. That's why it is called the Sacred Grounds. Then, in a low and threatening tone, he warns her to keep the promise or face death. Jiuni, now visibly shaken, nervously nods. If you've made it this far, Please don't forget to like and subscribe, it really keeps me motivated. And stay tuned for the next part.